friends, welcome back to my channel. As many of you probably already know, I've been staying in Bali for the last 3 months and I've been to many different places such as Changu, Ubud, Nusa Penida and Ahmed. And in all of these different places I rented myself a scooter to get around, so I wanted to fill you in with all of the necessary things you need to know, such as how much scooters cost in different places here in Bali, how to drive a scooter obviously, and also like little hacks that really helped me to ride a scooter despite the fact that I never rode a scooter in my life beforehand. So if you're a little hesitant or a little anxious about getting a scooter here in Bali, let me take away your fears and give you some tips of how you can actually make yourself feel more comfortable. So my first tip would be, if you never drove a scooter in your life before or you not feel as comfortable yet driving scooters, I would recommend to just get go checks at the beginning to just adjust to like the whole traffic system here in Bali or in Asia in general. Basically, go checks and grabs are like Ubers but with scooter drivers and you're in the back and you can just watch how they do it and just adjust to the whole traffic system, to the driving manners here, and just really get a feeling for it at the beginning. After a couple of days, I reckon you already got like a feeling of how to behave in the whole traffic system here, and then I would recommend to get a scooter. I personally always like to have like older scooters because I'm still a fresh driver and it can very likely be that I make like a little mistake and get like a scratch into it. So if I have a new scooter, it might be a big issue, but most of the older scooters have already a bunch of scratches, so it's not as obvious. But it actually never happened, but that was just my way of thinking that I rather have like an older scooter. Also be careful because you usually just get a really loose helmet, and I had to ask multiple times to actually get a helmet which fits to my head and to my size. So I would recommend to get like a helmet that actually fits your head. And always wear helmets. That's like my biggest recommendation. So for me personally, I just had people around me explaining to me how to accelerate, how to hit the brakes, what all the different buttons actually do at a scooter. But if you really want to feel more comfortable, there are actually scooter lessons you can take here in Bali. I think they're around like 20 to 30 euros depending on where you get them, and they will explain everything much more in detail to you. But if you really just want to have like a brief introduction, I will take you out to my scooter and I just briefly explain like the little buttons. They're like just so few, so it's really easy actually to understand how a scooter works. So let's go out. Okay, so this is my scooter that I rented, and the first thing you want to do is like put your key in the keyhole obviously, and there are different options you have for like this key. You can go on off obviously, you can go on, that's really clear, but then you also have an opener, it's usually written down, and then you just click on this side here and then the cabin underneath your seat is opening and you can put stuff in there. You can also put gas in here, so if you open this, it just opens a hole where you can refill the gas. For some places, not always, it's kind of good to also lock your scooter. So what you have to do is put the whole side to the left, and then you push the key a little down, and then there's like a lock, so you can't really turn around the scooter anymore. The thing is, here in Bali at a lot of restaurants or bars, you should not do it because they move your scooter around depending on how much parking area they have. So as soon as you lock it, it's not possible to like move the scooter around. It's also good for thieves, so they can't really take your scooter anymore obviously, but sometimes you should not lock it like this. But you can lock it if you just push your key all the way to the left and then just lock it like this. If you want to start your scooter, obviously you have to go on the scooter and then you have to remove the stand on the one side because else the engine is not starting. Obviously look that both of your mirrors are adjusted and you can see like the people behind you, and then you have to pull one of the brakes. I always do it with the left hand and then push this little button and then it's starting right away. I just turn it off so you can hear me better. If you want to accelerate or speed a little, you just have to turn around this handle. That's how you speed. And this is how you hit the brakes. I usually do it with the left hand because with the right hand I'm either giving speed or not. So I'm usually pulling the brake if I want to like stop the scooter on the left hand side. If it's really steep, I also pull like both handles, so it actually stops much better. And then there are just a bunch of other like little buttons here. The first one on the bottom is like to blink on the left hand side or on the right hand side. If you want to stop blinking, you just push it down. Here you have like a honk. You can just push it and then it's like doing this sound. Honking is usually not a thing here, only if you just want to alarm somebody that you will like pass him or go around him, so I usually honk for that. And then the last little thing is actually if you're driving at night, you have like a night light and like the regular light. So that's basically it. That's how you drive a scooter. Really, really simple. As soon as I kind of had a feeling for my scooter and I understood what all the different functions do and how to handle them, the first thing I did was only drive during daylight, and I tried to avoid like the really big rush hours, as there's a lot of more traffic there obviously. But after a while I got much more comfortable and I just got a better feeling for my scooter, and then I was comfortable driving at night as well, and at some point I even felt comfortable enough to take other people's in my bag, and now I actually really feel very, very comfortable driving a scooter. I don't fear it at all anymore. Okay, now quickly about like the prices of scooters here in Bali. So the cheapest was actually here in Changu. I think I had a little bit of an advantage as well compared to the other destinations, as I stay very long here. So at the beginning I stayed for 1.5 or 2 months, and now I'm staying for 1 month. So I had the benefit of staying longer and getting a little bit of a discount for like the longer period of time. But here in Changu, for a month, I paid 900k, which is kind of equal to 56 euros, which is around 2 euros a day for the scooter, which is fairly cheap. In Ubud, I paid around 50k Indonesian rupiah per day, which equals around 3 euros per day. The same goes for Ahmed. I paid around 50k. Both of them wanted to have a little bit more at the beginning, but I argued that I would take it for a week, so it's a little bit more amount of time, so they would go down with their prices a little. So they wanted to have 60k in both places beforehand, and I got them down to 50k. And the very most expensive place to rent a scooter is the Nusa Islands. I reckon it's because there are a lot of tourists coming there and there are just a few rental places, so they can raise their prices. Also, the roads are kind of tricky in the Nusas. I will come there in a second. So it might occur that a lot more accidents happen there, which probably results in a higher price for the scooters. So in the Nusa Islands, they wanted to have around 80k to 100k, which is around 5 to a little bit more than 60 euros per day, which is fairly expensive in my opinion. But I found a place where I could rent my scooter for a week for like 70k, which is around, I think, €4.50 or something like that. And when we went on the Nusa Penida Island, which is like the big Nusa Island, I actually stayed in Chanengan and Lemongan. Like these little islands are connected, so you can go through to both of them. I had my scooter there, and then for one day I went to Nusa Penida and rented a different scooter there. They firstly wanted to have 100k, and we got them down to like 80k for the day, which is like 5 euros. Quickly, some words about like the roads here in Bali. In Changu, I would say the roads are comparably very well. Obviously, here and there are some holes, but generally, like the roads are quite good, and the traffic is pretty bad, like in the rush hours. But also, I would say also the traffic is not as bad. In Ubud, the traffic is almost always horrible, but the roads are also comparably well, and you have like good roads to drive on. So in Ubud, it's more the issue about like maneuvering through the traffic. In Ahmed, there's hardly any traffic, but the roads are horrible. There are a lot of holes in the roads and a lot of dirt roads. But I personally really enjoy driving in Ahmed, as there is no traffic, and I actually also found a way how to deal with all the bumps in the roads and all the cracks. And I would say like the worst roads are actually in the Nusa Islands, as on the Nusa Islands there are a lot of like cracked roads, but also there's a lot of sand on the roads sometimes. You have a bunch of dirt roads, especially on Nusa Penida. It is kind of difficult to drive, as a lot of places you want to go to, or even the more touristy places, have dirt roads leading to them, with a lot of stones and sand on it. So I would say the hardest roads to drive here in Bali are like on the Nusa Islands. I had a couple of friends who also had like scooter accidents at the Nusa Islands because the roads are kind of difficult, and I myself had one as well. So it was not dangerous or anything, but basically there was a really steep hill, a really sandy, steep dirt road going downwards, and I was stopping at the hill. I was looking down, I was like, fuck, this is like the hardest road I ever drove. And I actually got really comfortable driving, and I was like, well, I try it. And I got down with the scooter really slow, and then I just fell because of sand on the road. I didn't hurt myself that much. I only got like scratches on my knee, and the scooter luckily didn't got anything. But yeah, be careful at the Nusa Islands, and if you're really worried about like driving a scooter, I would probably recommend not to drive on the Nusa Islands. So in total, I would say driving a scooter in Bali is not as dangerous or as scary as it might seem to a lot of Europeans at the beginning, and as well to me. I had a bunch of friends who actually also didn't want to drive a scooter at all while they stay here in Bali because they were too afraid. And I totally do understand it, but I personally didn't find it as terrifying anymore as long as you really adjust to like the whole traffic system. And what I personally also experience is that the whole like manner in the traffic is much more calm than in Europe and less provocative or aggressive. So I had the feeling like all the other scooter drivers actually really pay attention to you, and also all the cars. So it is much more calm in the whole traffic scene. So I never felt really unsafe, to be honest, beside of like sand on the road, for example, on the Nusa Islands where you can slide. I would always probably choose to rent a scooter, because renting a scooter just gives you so much more freedom, because some places, for example in Ahmed, in Nusa, and in other like a little bit more remote areas, you just can't order a Grab or a Gojek, and then you just literally have the option to walk or to find somebody who can drive you. But in general, it makes you just more dependent, it's more expensive, and you can't explore like all the really cool places by yourself. What I actually really want, I want to have the freedom to like decide where to go myself. So that's about it. I hope this video helped you a little bit to decide if you want to drive a scooter in Bali and if it's necessary for you. And then I'll see you in the video next week. Bye!